After 12 years in the field of social work, I burned out. And honestly, I wish someone told me these things before I got into the field. Hey everyone, my name is Niketa. I am a social worker, a therapist, a cultural wellness strategist, a creative, and I love social work. And today I want to talk about some of the things I wish I knew before I got into this field, before I became a social worker, because I honestly think if I knew this, it would have saved me years of stress and it probably would have changed the way I built my practice. So, number one, I wish I knew the importance of building a personal brand as a social worker. I remember when I graduated with my BSW, there was a professor, she was the last professor I had. She encouraged us to create business cards. And I was so confused. I was a social work student and I was like, why would I have a business card? That doesn't make sense. I'm not a real social worker. And she said, yes, you can have a business card with your name. You can say Niketa Pechan, BSW, and BSW social worker, your phone number and your email. I wish I was taught the power of networking. So I did. I did get the 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 card and I went to some networking events and I passed it out and I felt like an imposter. But I'm telling you, that's within your right. And I just realized that school didn't really teach us about marketing, storytelling, branding. As a matter of fact, there's this social worker out there, Samara Stone. She's a social worker therapist, and she has a program where she helps people. She uses her skills of therapy. It's not therapy, but she uses the skills of understanding a problem and helping you deepen your understanding of what your purpose is. Oh my gosh, shameless plug. If you're a social worker and you love branding, that's a really good business to do. But I didn't realize that, you know, branding was so important. I wish I can go back and tell my younger social work self to learn branding, learn storytelling, and learn how to market your value. That is the biggest thing. As a social worker, you have to learn how to market your value, period. Companies only hire you because of your ability to communicate your impact, not your credentials. As a matter of fact, a lot of social workers I've seen, like they'll say their whole alphabet credentials and they'll be so scared to put themselves out there. Honey, it don't matter if you are Niketa Pechan, BSW, MSW, DSW, it don't matter. If you cannot communicate and market your value, you're gonna you're not gonna tap into a lot of these spaces. Okay. The second thing I wish I knew how versatile social work was. I remember when I applied for the social work career field and I was turning in my application as a bachelor's student and someone looked the guidance counselor looked at it, she's like, social work, you know they don't make money, right? And I felt so shame and so embarrassed because I think the world don't really understand the power of social workers and what we can really do. And so I wish I understood how versatile we actually was. And no one told me that. Like I only thought social work was like therapy, case management, crisis work. And I think a lot of people do get into this field because they're like, ooh, I want to be a therapist. I'm going to be a social worker, right? And I just had no idea. And I'm going to share some of the things that you can get into. I had no idea you can get into tech. As a matter of fact, I work in the tech space now full time. You can get into tech, you can get into content creation, hello, you know, branding, storytelling, policy work. So when I went to FIU, I went to FIU Robert Stemple's School of Social Work and Public Health. And I remember like think hearing it on the side, public health, and I think they had an MSW MPH track, and I never paid it any mind. Ironically, years later, I now work closely with public health people because I'm in policy and research and I work very closely with them. So I honestly wish I took the MSW MPH track, to be honest with you. You can do UX research. This is user experience research. You can do wellness consulting, community design, corporate training. As a matter of fact, remember, as a social worker, you're an expert in building solutions and identifying problems. And what do corporate have? Problems. So nobody told me. I like to look at social work our social work degree as a passport. This is a passport, not a box. And I wish I knew this because look, I'd have been taken off earlier. Another thing I wish I knew about social work that it's more than just therapy. I wish I understood the macro world of social work because it's a game changer. I didn't start learning about macro social work until the recent years, sadly. I just thought social work was like individual direct practice. Sure, the school, I don't want to crap on FIU. FIU is great, one of the top schools, right? But I didn't know, I didn't really understand because I guess I was, whenever your mind is set on something, you kind of don't hear nothing else. I think that's what it was. I was like, I'm gonna be a therapist. I'm gonna be a therapist. But I didn't really understand the difference between macro, micro, and meso social work. And I can do a video on that too. But after 12 years of being a therapist, I was exhausted and burnt out with like the heavy caseload, emotional exhaustion. Um, nobody, nobody really prepared me for toil that, the emotional toil that direct practice really can take on you, right? And so I discovered macro social work because I discovered that although I started to kind of fall out of love with direct work, I started to fall in love with systems work, like looking at how can I teach people. So I've done the work with clients and now I want to do something else, right? How can I teach people, practitioners, the system to provide better care? Because I've been in the field for so long, I see maybe we need to do this bit different, how can I teach people to improve their practice? How can I teach the systems to create better policies? I discovered a whole world beyond one-on-one therapy and I didn't know. So let's talk about what that could look like. Organizational wellness, right? So an organization has a whole culture and people. And we spend most of our time at work in organizations. And where are we spending our most time? Like it affects us. And so looking at the organizational psychology of a place and seeing how it affects their mission and how they put put out their mission or put out the work or the services, that's a thing. Leadership development is huge. Like practically everywhere has leaders. I mean, schools and hospitals, like you can literally help develop effective leaders because there are a lot of people who can do good work, but they can't lead people. They can't connect with people. And you as a social worker, you know how to build rapport and connect with people. And so it's going to be very important for you to be in those spaces. Like literally social workers, we're needed. We need to step up and get into leadership development because so many people are just causing. So I work in with a lot of employees. I see a lot of employees, and one of the themes is like bad managers, right? If we can get into leadership development, we can actually help curate spaces where we have better leaders, and better leaders mean better employees, like better people, you know. Also in macro program design. So, for example, there's a lot of people who create nonprofits. Like, let's say somebody was in a foster care system as a kid and they hated how they were treated, and they're like, you know what? I'm going to create a nonprofit to help foster kids. But they don't really know how to design a program. They don't really know how to do intake or assess or any of that. But you do. You do as a social worker. So you can actually sell services that helps design programs for nonprofits or other programs. Really cool. Disaster mental health. So October 28, 2025, a couple weeks ago from the day that I'm recording this, Hurricane Melissa, Category 5 hurricane, hit Jamaica, my home country, and destroyed the western part of the island. A lot of us therapists in the Jamaican diaspora, we started to scramble and say, we got to help. We got to provide mental health. And so disaster mental health is going to be really crucial because there's fires and tornadoes and hurricanes and earthquakes happening all over the globe. And this is something that really is needed. You can design and implement things to help mitigate disaster, mental health, and trauma. Also, cultural responsive trainings, cultural competency trainings is huge. We always got to get the cultural competency trainings because we want to provide good care. So you can actually do that. You can build that out. Policy change. We literally can change policy, guys. We don't have to be a politician. We don't. We just need to understand human needs. We need to be in those rooms, at those tables, and fighting for changes that helps people. International work, something that I'm doing with Jamaica. Like, you can work internationally with different causes. You can find global organizations. Community storytelling, you can listen to what the community is saying, what they need, and you can actually build solutions. The next thing I wish I knew I could enter into the creative and tech space. I didn't, this blew my mind. I discovered therapists in tech years ago, and then I just been in the tech space ever since. Didn't even consider that. Didn't even consider that. I didn't know that I didn't have to choose between being a helper and a creative, or a clinician and an innovator. And I just realized that I'm just an innovator. I'm just a creative. And if you are a creative and an innovator, please lock in and realize that you can do so much. You can do branding, you can do content creation, you can do YouTube. And guess what? Content creation is not just YouTube and Instagram and all that stuff, brand deals. Content creation, like literally big name organizations like Headway and Alma and all these places, they actually pay you to write for them. Like, literally, you can write for these organizations or other organizations. Even if it's, you can pitch it. You can, shoot, sometimes, a lot of times you get a market lane because you see it and you see what you can offer and you say, hey, I see a problem. I see that you're doing this. Let me offer this. And that money, hello. You can also do UX writing, which is user experience writing. You can do human-centered design, so you can help design human-centered approaches for various things. Can get into that in another video if you like. Tech mental health platforms is booming right now. Like, big tech mental health platforms are coming up. You can be a part of that. Social impact agency strategies, your social work brain, the analysis, the empathy, the system thinking. This is exactly what the creative and tech space needs. We need you. I wish I knew, and I wish I was honest. I wish people were more honest. Well, I wish I knew and understood that there are actual caps in this system. But you can build your own. You can build your own. So it's very important to realize that there are ceilings in social work. I hear it all the time in these Facebook groups. Oh my God, how can I make 100K? How can I make 200K? How could I? But people are looking at it wrong. They're trying to find a job that pays 150K. Yeah. You have to be very creative to earn money. You don't have to hustle and overwork yourself, but you're going to have to be creative if you want to earn money. The reality is there's ceilings. There's ceilings in social work. There's salary ceilings. There's system ceilings. There's emotional. There are all kind of ceilings in social work, right? And the biggest lesson I've learned is that I have the capacity to build my own solutions. Like, whatever I see as a problem, I can build a solution for that and offer it to people, and I can sell them. You can make money doing this, you know. We are problem solvers by training, by nature. That's what we do. We solve problems. We understand human behavior. We understand the systems and culture. Like, you can do it. And so this means that we can build trainings, we can build digital products, honey, ebooks, toolkits. We can build those things. You have the skills. Evaluations, workshops. You can build courses. My favorite, retreats, consulting frameworks, and you can trademark your frameworks. Did you realize as a social worker you can have intellectual property that you own? You own concepts. Who do you think? What do you think about CBT and mindfulness and motivational interviewing and IFS and all these different systems that we use in caring for our clients? These are trademark frameworks that were developed by regular people like us. You can create your own framework. Just make sure it's evidence-based though. You can create community programs as well. You don't have to just work in the system. You can actually improve the system. And so that's what I'm really excited about now. So if you're a social worker or you're thinking of becoming one, please hear me. The field is bigger than you can ever imagine. It's wider. It's more creative. We live in a tech space. AI is booming. And get in, lock in. You know, it's not just therapy anymore. It's not just case management. And even those things, you can innovate them, you know? And so I thank you for listening. So comment below if any one of these things I shared surprised you or stuck out with you. Don't forget to subscribe because I'll be sharing more videos. Bye.